You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 83 of the show. How's everybody doing? Good? That's good to hear. It is hot here in northern Utah already. We already passed 90, I think 1 degrees today here, and I don't know that I'm ready for it. I realize that I was just bitching about the white stuff, but damn, why do we have to go complete opposite ends of the spectrum literally almost overnight? Good God. Anyhow, hope everybody's doing well where you're at. Hopefully it's a nice, 72 degrees and just steady. On top of the fact that it's already crotch-chafingly warm, we are just being bombarded with cotton and, I don't think there's any mold. I don't think that's even possible when it's this dry, but the cotton is out of control. The dandelions are out of control. Good Lord. Well, crime's already through the roof. I mean, not that that went down ever, but, the heat brings it out. Oy, Lord. I don't know if I'm ready for another couple months of this garbage already. However, if you were looking to just go out in your Daisy Dukes, in your bikini top, and maybe wash the car, if you could avoid the water fine ticket, because we're already on water restrictions, you couldn't ask for a more beautiful day. Man, a little bit breezy, although at that point it's a blast furnace, but just, damn, blue skies and nice, pretty white clouds, and man, it has sure been beautiful. I'm sure I mentioned on the last show, for some reason, we just get really lucky with some of this stuff, even up at the hill climbs. It was ugly going in, and then Friday and Saturday were just perfect bluebirds. I do like that, I got to admit. However, I suppose now is as good a time as any. As good a time as any. You know what I mean. That's a Utah thing, sorry. As good as a time as any. It's a Utah thing, trust me. But the UV index is apparently just blisteringly off the charts. I feel like I was outside for about 6.5 minutes and I was already pink. So here's your PSA to wear your sunscreen, kids. Steer clear of the melanomas. What else you should steer clear of? Frontier Airlines. Like, a DC-80 or an A320 going about, 200 miles an hour down the runway in Denver. Wow, guys. I don't know if you heard about this, but some lunatic, psychopath, probably somebody with an ex-wife similar to mine, had decided to take a stroll out on the runway and get himself unalived by an airplane trying to take off. Not taxiing, not, no. Like clipping 180, 200 miles an hour, like in full takeoff mode. That, my friends, sounds awful. I'm going to go ahead and say it probably wasn't nearly as instant as he thought. Although the more I think about it, it probably was pretty quick. He was ingested into the right side engine, which is weird. I mean, he went to the hospital and asked for directions, and somebody directed him to intake. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, wrong intake there, son. But at those speeds, like I said, it probably was a lot quicker than I'm giving it credit for. Otherwise, his head was was a chew toy. I mean, he'd just been complaining about being burned out. Boy, I could do this for days. I like it. I thought about these all day. He's just so burned out, so he went to intake. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. I don't know what kind of like I said, I assume there were drugs involved. Just the things, the security and the fences and all the other things in place that you would have had to circumnavigate just to be able to get to the active runway on foot is wild to me. So, like I said, maybe some PCP, who knows? I guess, is what it is. Unfortunately, he probably leaves behind some family, so that's unfortunate. But I assume that he achieved his goal. I don't see any other reason why you would think it's a good idea to jump a Constantine wire lined fence and just take a leisurely stroll at midnight on an active runway. But, wouldn't be the first time I've overthought something and couldn't quite understand, right? The other unfortunate part is all the poor bastards who either had to see it out their window or feel the thump. I probably would have cheered, but we already know I'm not normal. The other thing is the poor pilots that knew that it was a person that they had hit. Not a deer strike, not a bird strike. At some point, you can clearly hear it in their voice. They knew, they saw it just in the blink of an eye. Some crackhead standing on the edge of the runway. You know what they should have had is a protective dike. It's a large woman in comfortable shoes standing near the edge of the runway saying, "Don't go near there." Wild. But like I said, all those poor folks are going to have to probably deal with some PTSD from that for a little while. So super cool guy. He gets the award of the week, I guess, for that. The other dumb shit award of the week goes to none other than the POTUS. Now, I get it, and it doesn't bother me at all. However, he should probably take some, some community night classes for sensitivity training or something along those lines, because when asked if he was keeping the American taxpayers' wallets or, budgets in mind over all this mess in the Middle East and other things of large taxpayer spending, he just blurted out, "Nope, I don't care about that." Now, again, I understand the context in which he meant it, or at least I think I do. But it doesn't come off real great for folks to hear that, especially folks that can't read between the lines and realize that he probably meant, "I'm worried about dealing with Iran and their horseshit, not worrying about, Paula and Greg being able to afford $5 a gallon gas." Do I think that both of those things need to be considered? Absolutely. However, again, when you're trying to end this bullshit so that those other things can be facilitated, I don't disagree. Yeah, you kind of got bigger things on your mind. Again, just doesn't sound good for the public to hear it that way. That being said, I have never been on the bandwagon of he's a smart feller. Some of the stuff he does, I do appreciate his testicular fortitude, and possibly some of his no BS tactics. But he's never, none of them have ever been accused of being brilliant. And I I don't think I would have to really try and get anyone to disagree with me there. One of the crazy things to me about all of this, or about all of it, and I've told you guys before, is the fact that more people don't see the bigger picture. The division, just seems to be at a continued all-time high, and I don't know what it's going to take for everyone to realize that we all, eventually, somehow, have to get on the same page to fight all this madness. Yet, even just today on social media, I was watching some people go back and forth, a gang of people go back and forth about things like EBT and what it can and can no longer purchase. And it's wild to me how just adamant both sides of the coin still are. There doesn't seem to be any sort of middle ground gaining by anyone. And I don't know how to get that point across, that until there is no left, there is no right, there is no liberal, there is no conservative, there has to be basically a one world movement, or things are just going to continue being the shit show that they are, and that they have been for a very long time. And I realize that is the case, and that probably always will be the case. But I don't understand how, a goofy redneck mechanic from northern Utah can somehow have a better vision of things than the rest of the country put together, seemingly. I mean, I've been wrong before, but that's the only way I see this resolving itself, or even getting to a point where, things don't just seem completely out of control. The Iran thing, I don't know. Yes, I didn't expect it to last this long. I keep waiting for it to just be over, but the him and the haw, the all the stuff, and again, of course, nobody can believe any of it. So you see one thing that says they still have, long-range missile capabilities, or this, or that, or the other. I think finally something must be actually going right, or the facts, the actual facts, must somehow align in some sort of way, because now you're seeing other countries starting to get on board. UAE, UK, these guys are finally coming around and going, okay, you know what, he's right. Maybe we should step in and flex on these guys a little bit, or at least that's the way it seems. I could be wrong. I'm certainly no expert, but that, in my opinion, that is the only way that this ends, and it ends anytime soon, is we either have to do what we said we're going to do and go in and decimate them, or all their capabilities, which, of course, the collateral damage isn't worth it. What's the saying? The squeeze isn't worth the juice, I believe. I don't know. It's not ever been one that I use often, but like I said, clearly everyone has had enough, because all these other folks are starting to step in and say, you know what, yeah, let's get this handled up. Let's get it cleared up and be done with it. Because enough is enough. And heading into summer, what are we, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, basically. 2.5 weeks from Memorial Day. So here in the States, we're about to head into the busy summer, travel season. Everybody's tired of this mess already. And, simply saying that, oh, well, if it would have been my guy or my girl or whatever, then none of this would have happened. That's not cutting it. A, there is no, factual basis for that other than a maybe. And B, it's not going to resolve anything. So we've got to get on the same page sooner or later. And unfortunately, I thought by now things would start leaning that way, but it certainly doesn't seem to be the case. Hopefully sooner than later, we can get it all figured out and return to some sort of normalcy, not only here in the States, but globally. I don't know, obviously, how things are being affected in other places, but I assume that, everybody's kind of feeling the pinch of the global tension. So here's hoping. You never know. When Maxine Waters just came out as one of the newest characters in the new Mandalorian movie, I mean, anything is possible, right? Anyhow, I guess other than extreme fluctuations, it doesn't seem to be doing awful things to the stock market and commodities. I mean, at least overall. I did just read something interesting, and of course, who knows how much validity there is to it, but Starlink apparently is the place to be. I'm sure that now it's priced so far out of my budget that I can't do anything about it, but this claims that in 3 years of commercial operations, Starlink has quietly boomed from 0 to 10 billion in annual revenue. And then it goes on to say that to put that into perspective, Amazon took a full decade to reach the same number. Netflix was more like it. Took 7 years to achieve half of that. Even Tesla took 5 years to hit the $10 billion mark. It is claimed to be the fastest growing business in U.S. history, with nearly 1 million new customers every 53 days. Good Lord. That is wild. And I don't know, for those of you who have it, you already know, but Maddie, without a natty, picked one up for our travels and things and hill climbs and all that kind of stuff. And up at the hill just a couple of weeks ago, we were able to get like 365 gigs down and like 65 gigs up in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. Absolutely ridiculous speeds. And I don't even know how, like, that those numbers don't even like add up to me, because my internet's pretty fast. I mean, it's fast enough for everything I do, which granted, I don't do a bunch of that mess. I don't game, but I stream a whole lot, and that is just lightning. And now it's basically more affordable than ever. It's actually, Christ, it's kind of right in line with a lot of other folks, price-wise, and what you get for that price. It is something else. Man, if you could afford to get in on that, I think that those facts that I was just reading are probably right. I think that's going to do nothing but continue to skyrocket. Literally. It's astronomical. And I don't know if I've ever made mention of it before or not, but I gave up on big internet, i.e. Xfinity or CenturyLink or any of those turds a handful of years ago when I couldn't get them where I was at. I was in a brand new development and none of those were available at the time. So I've been one of the major mobile carriers for several years now. And I'm telling you guys what, the Gateway, you cannot beat it. For $35 a month or even $50 a month, depending on which time you signed up at, it is fantastic. So between that and Starlink, I think these big turds are just dying on the vine. The last time I had CenturyLink, they literally could not, I literally never got even what was advertised for the plan that I had, and it was nothing super fancy. No fiber, no T1, no none of that. But it was stupid prices, and it literally couldn't even hit brand new the first day I got it right out of the box what it was even claimed to be rated at. In my opinion, they're just trash, and they're overcharging, and I think people have had enough of it. So if and depending on where you're at, you know, a lot of that stuff isn't available. I don't know about you guys across the pond or down south or in any of the places that a lot of you are listening from. I don't know what kind of stuff is available there, but man, Starlink definitely seems to be the way to go now. And again, if you could afford to buy in on that stock, even what it's at now, I don't think you would ever get hurt. Anyhow, we're going to take a quick break for engineer Nash and myself, and we'll be back soon. Hey folks, Ryan here, aka the Fatty With A Natty. Are you a business owner or marketing director looking to explore advertising on the Blowed Out podcast? As we prepare to enter our 4th season, we've gained a listening audience in over 125 cities spread across 21 countries worldwide. That includes a very large listening base right here in northern Utah. To find out how we can help your business grow or to discuss pricing and frequency options, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. Again, that's blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com, subject marketing. And we're back. You know, I was just thinking I should probably update that little commercial mid-roll. As we're currently sitting, guys, we're in 57 countries and 265 cities, which is just ridiculous. And as always, I can't thank you guys enough, but it definitely sounds a hair more impressive than whatever I was saying during that commercial. Anyhow, just a quick side note. I appreciate you all, as always. The other thing I was going to mention, it is now 11 o'clock here, and I was just outside throwing another nail in my coffin with the dog, and it is still 77 degrees. That is pretty wild for May, I don't know, what, 12th? Good Lord. I hope this isn't a indicator of things to come. Damn it. Al Gore was right. Nobody wants to admit that Al Gore was right. But I suppose that's as good a time as any to remind folks, now that it's warming up, everybody's getting out and hiking. Depending on where you're at, watch for snakes, guys. Don't bust a cankle. Properly hydrate, you know, all those things. We just had a couple other kids here in, I believe it might have been central Utah, but kind of close to home. Roll another side-by-side, and both of them had to be life-flighted and in critical condition. Just, it's real easy to get cray-cray once the cabin fever wears off, and maybe an adult beverage or two, and get yourself into some trouble. So, we don't want any of that. We don't want to see anybody get hurt or worse. So, everybody be careful out there as you're moving into recreating season. Also, apparently there's a brain-eating amoeba, I believe is what it was, in Yellowstone now, and a couple other places that they have identified. So, maybe check into that before you go diving into a nice, cool-looking lake or river. You don't want a brain or flesh-eating amoeba or one of those little fishes that'll swim into your... nobody wants any of that. So just do a little homework. Be safe, guys. That's yet another free PSA from the Fatty With A Natty. That being said, if there are any fans of the show, in some super cool place that isn't Utah, and you feel like you want to hang out and throw back some coldies with the Fatty, hit me up. I would love to go somewhere. I don't know, maybe Croatia. Croatia looks real nice. I don't know, anywhere that's not going to be 150 degrees. Maybe has some cool waterfalls and stuff that I can just ride my bike. And by bike, I mean ATV or dirt bike. Something powered right up to. I'm not looking to get all athletic in some Birkenstocks or anything like that. I just want to roll up and see some pretty stuff. Maybe drive through a creek or two and, maybe catch a cutthroat. Yes, we have plenty of those around here, but I'd like to see something I've never seen before. And all the stuff around here, granted, I still have never seen everything that Utah has to offer, but man, there's some cool, really cool places. And I'm thinking about getting my passport while I still can, and maybe exploring somewhere outside the continental U.S. Not that I could afford it, but man, if I didn't have to rent an Airbnb, that'd be even better, right? So, like I said, hit me up. Let's put something together. I would love to come and crash on your couch. I suppose I should probably wait until, jet fuel is below $9.50 a gallon before I get super crazy with that. But I'll bet I can get a good deal on Frontier Airlines. Ooh. Sorry, couldn't resist it. Reminds me of back in the days, long time ago. I may have mentioned bits and pieces of this before, but we used to think it was a good idea to head down in the Lake Havasu area. About this time of year, thinking, we wanted to get out of the snow and away from Utah and everything else. So we go down there and it would be, 112 during the day. And just, gorgeous country. The Colorado was warm and disgusting. Great times. There used to be a couple of shows down there back when we were all building mini trucks and lowriders and stuff. It was kind of like Sturgis it was like Sturgis, but all cars and mostly mini trucks and lowriders and stuff of that nature. Not entirely, but a lot of it, predominantly. And we always thought it was such a great idea, so we'd caravan down there, about 20 of us, and we'd have tents, or we'd sleep in the bed of the truck, or whatever dumb kids thinking, I'm going to drive 14 hours and just go party at this ginormous car show. And I remember it being so disgustingly hot that, you would just wake up in a puddle of your own juices. It god awful. I apologize for that descriptive tidbit there, but it was a great time. There was always a couple of thousand people, and like I said, it was cool with the boats running up and down the river and everything. But there were times where you would get there and you would just want to lay down and die, because the only option was either that or drive 14 godforsaken hours back to where it wasn't 150,000 degrees. And we did that probably, oh Lord, there was a handful of years. We did it twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And I don't think the temperature ever changed. I feel like it somehow it didn't even get hotter, let alone milder. It's godforsaken. So yeah, I'm gonna need to go somewhere up north, and I know one guy who might let me crash on his couch, or maybe at least out back. I don't know, on the patio, something. But I'm thinking like across the pond up north. Good vodka, maybe some ice. I don't know. It's all just dreaming and rambling. You guys know I'm good at that. One of those times, Fatty With A Natty and myself were coming back from, it's Parker, Arizona, which is basically, it's just across the river from Havasu. It's essentially Lake Havasu. It's just on the other side of the river. We were coming back in my 1980 Toyota. This was before it was body dropped and before it had a whole mess of work done. It was just lowered and had a system, and we were just trying to be cool kids. And we were coming back, and there was probably, 8 or 10 of us, and we would caravan, everywhere. So all in a line out in the middle of the San Bernardino desert. And we're just trucking along, and like I said, we've been like on a 3 or 4 day bender in Arizona. I mean, in rough shape. But we had to get home, so we're cruising along, and all of a sudden there's a California Highway Patrol behind us. And I thought, oh my God. And I was so sunburned that it looked like I had a white tank top on, but I was shirtless. And smelled like the inside of a beer can. And if I remember right, I probably shouldn't admit this, but if I remember right, I think we were both technically still underage. And I thought, oh my God, here we are. We're cooked, bro. We're screwed. So we pull over, and I see the rest of the caravan just pull on away from us. And this CHP guy walks up and he says, "How you doing today?" And I'm like I said, I'm just shitting bricks at this point. And I says, "Well," I said, "not too bad, how about yourself?" And I'm thinking, man, he's gonna know. He has to know. There's no way he can. It smells like a locker room and a beer can in here. It just sweat and barley and hops. Just awful. And we look like hell, everything else. He says, "Just wanted to let you know that in the state of California, your truck is illegal." I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, yeah, your tires are sticking out more than, 30% or something. And granted, they didn't stick out very far. They stuck out farther than I wanted. I had special ordered some wheels way back in the day when I was still working at super shops, back when that was a thing. And they came in the wrong size. And I didn't have time to send them back or punt, so we just mounted it up and rolled. And I said, "Okay." And he says, Yep, they're sticking out too far for California law." And I said, "Well, cool." I said, "But you saw the Utah license plate on the back of my truck, right?" And I'm thinking, you know what? Hell with it. If I'm going out, I'm going to go out tased and all. Like just face down on the asphalt, probably a rattlesnake bite or some godforsaken thing. I don't know. But as I said it, I remember thinking, oh my God, Ryan, you dumbass. What just came out of your mouth? Like you're going to get tased, bro. I said, "Did you see the license plate back there that said Utah? And can you see the look on my face that gives no shits?" And Matt was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I don't know. It just came out. And he said, yeah, I did. And I was thinking, okay, well, this is it. This is where it happens. And I squinched up my eyes real tight, waiting for the taser prongs or something. And he goes, "Well, just wanted to let you know. You guys be safe and have a good day." And I'm thinking, what? Like, what the hell just happened? And sure as shit, no ticket, no fix-it ticket, no nothing. He just said, just wanted to let you know, bro. Meanwhile, everybody else is 15 miles down the road just trucking on, and I'm thinking, you son of a bitch. You were just so bored, or you saw a couple of kids that you knew you were going to put the fear of God in, which, sir, you succeeded. But I remember thinking, no way that just happened. And I'll be damned if he didn't go back. I can't remember now if he was in a car or on a bike. And he just went back and then just motored on. And Matt and I are just sitting there going, what in the hell just happened? And how are we not arrested? Man, there was a lot of crazy times like that. I don't regret any of them. I really don't. They were good times for sure. Like I said, I still don't know how we made that one out unscathed, but we weren't going like 100 or anything, so he really didn't have, he could have gave me a fix-it ticket or something, I guess, but I guess maybe he just figured that we would have never dealt with it anyhow, so anywho, maybe that's one more reason I don't like the extreme heat. I think the other thing that had made me the most upset is that truck, several years down the road, was in street trucks, believe it or not. And I can't remember, I don't know, like June of, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what year. June of 2000 or something like that, issue of street trucks. But after we had really like put a good lowering on it, after it was pretty damn low, just static, I had hit a pothole on 89 here in Weber County, and that pothole was so big and we hit so hard, it had blown the fifth gear synchro out of the transmission. and I tried getting a hold of DOT. It bent one of the wheels and blew that synchro out of fifth gear. And I tried to get a hold of DOT, and they basically told me to pound sand, and they weren't going to help me fix it or do anything about it. But I had rebuilt that transmission and still had all new synchros, all new bearings, everything. And fifth gear still would not stay in, no matter what you did. It would go into fifth, nice and smooth, but as soon as you started giving it some beans, it'd just pop out every time. So, obviously, we had places to go and people to see, or back then we were hoping people to do, but I had built a piece of oak, I think it was, I don't know, probably pine, but I had put a little notch, I had made a little notch in this stick and cut it perfectly, so it would sit against the back of the center console, and I would shift it up into fifth, and then I would hold it in fifth, and Matt would put the stick in to hold it in fifth. And then every time we come up to an off-ramp or something, I'd have to push the stick forward. He'd pull the stick, and we'd go run down through the gears and then reverse that to get back onto the freeway coming home. I think I was more mad that the cop made us take the stick out, pull over, and then have to go back through the procedure to get it back in fifth to head back down the freeway. Yeah, like I said, we were dumb teenagers, but hey, it worked, right? Anyhow, it was a good little truck for a lot of years. And like I said, when it finally went down the road in pieces, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode, but I had probably been working on it for, oh Lord, I don't know, what felt like 20 years. It was body dropped and had all kinds of engine work and custom body panels and all kinds of cool stuff. Full air ride. It was a cool truck. I miss that little truck. But anyhow, I suppose I have rattled on enough for this episode, guys. I could go back to being serious, but that's no fun at this point, right? Should probably give a shout out to our partners, Evolution Design Works and Fine Finishes Inc., R&R Machine. Show some love to the partners. If you're in this neck of the woods and you're looking for some custom stuff, look them up, give them some love. Like I said at the beginning, hope everyone's doing well. As usual, the crazies are out. Oh, God, speaking of which, the Baltimore guy. Chicago. The guy that was just trucking down the middle of the freeway with a rifle. Oh, Lord, guys. I don't think it's going to get any better, and the heat isn't going to help anything, so stay safe. Keep your heads on a swivel. I probably should warn you to stay armed. At least have some sort of contingency plan. If you're not into carrying, at least have a plan. Some sort of idea of what you would do if you end up in some sort of a situation with a crazy. Other than that, try and be good to one another, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Okay? Love you guys. Cheers.